Hey everyone, happy Friday. Thanks for waiting. We're here. We'll roll the intro in a little bit. But in the meantime, is that like top 10 most glorious beards in crypto? What do you think?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Greatest beard on earth.
Yeah, at least
Maybe going away. I don't know.
you might. What do you look like without a beard generally? Is it rough? Is it, you know,
Let's just say this. I look like the Spanish version of Superman. So,
well, that's you're definitely going to have this little, where is it? I can't see the little hair thingy popping down.
well,
Although I look like a baby when I do that. Also, it makes me look way more bald. Makes me look like balding, which I'm definitely not balding. But
the receding hairline.
I, if so, I wouldn't mind. But my grandpa's like 97 this year, and he still has all his hair, other than a slight bald spotting in the back or a thinning spot. So I got the good genetics. But the fatter my face is, the more it looks like the hair is going back when it's like not actually. So anyway. But
Yeah.
hair's
Yeah.
just hair. Have you seen what they can do in Turkey? Like,
No. I,
if at some point you want to be hair pilled, for lack of a better term, um, obviously look up young Elon Musk versus the way he looks now. That's one of the more
oh,
dramatic examples. He had he was losing all his hair like in his 30s, I think, and now he has lots. That's not an accident. The big one is Pavel Durov of Telegram. Have you ever seen the before and afters of him?
no. You should send it over right now so I
Listen,
can take a look at it.
I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna put it on the screen as a pre-intro thing, just so you can see. It kind of goes to the theories about like you're not, you're not ugly, you're just poor kind of thing. I gotta find. Let me. I gotta find a good image of this. But yeah, so I can't. I need to start every once in a while. I need to switch to like a more spying on you type search engine, because no offense to Brave Search, which gives me the bare minimum what I want, which is enough, but it's not that same level.
Have you tried a like start page or anything like that?
No, because my actual usage of search engines is just to go to a website where I'm not 100% sure of the URL. I don't actually search for them. That's what I use, like, AI stuff for, like Venice, for example, and stuff like
Right.
that. Let me find a more. Good thing about X, also known as Twitter, it's fantastic. Can't listen.
I
Product
know.
wise, I gotta shill it because it gets you what you want. Like everything I want kind of ends up being there. So
I know. I hate that too. I'm trying to wean myself off the teat of Elon.
yeah. Well, imagine if he buys TikTok. This rumor, I don't think it's gonna happen, but like
No, that's going to Mr. Beast. He's buying it.
I heard that too. Ooh, I forgot to even add all these links. From the stuff. It's kind of funny because like you were like, oh, might be a couple minutes late, and then I'm like, oh, that's fine. In the meantime, we're probably like waiting for me more than anyone. Let me see. Okay, I got all the heat here. Okay, so I'm gonna send you this. I'm gonna send you this picture, and at the same time, I'm gonna put it on the screen. So here we go. I'll send it to your Signal. Let's see. There we go.
Ooh, ooh.
Homeboy got some hair back, right? But his hair is great now. It's not just like Elon's does the job. That's fine. It's good enough. But this is like,
Dude, that's a full-on scalp transplant.
yeah. I wonder how many like
How many plugs
how
are in
many
there?
how many Ukrainian combat casualties he scalped to put that together, or whatever dark thing you want to like reference there. Because man, that's like he wasn't even losing that much hair, but like it's just completely different hair now. It up.
Yeah. I mean, this is what he probably looked like in transition. So
Yeah. Let me see. Oh, you sent me a thing. Oh, goodness gracious me. I gotta listen. For the viewers at home, I gotta find a way to put that on screen. Unfortunately, with all your encrypted, wrong one. With all your encrypted comms, it's a little bit harder to switch it on over. But I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna download.
yeah, do it, man.
This is like not a serious podcast, by the way, just in case you guys.
What are you talking about? This is like these are one of the funner podcasts.
I know,
right?
but it's
not only is it informative, right? You get to hang out.
Yeah, you get to hang out with all the nonsense. Where is it? Here we go. Okay, so I'll put this on the screen now because it made me laugh, and it must make you laugh too. There we go. That's what he looks like with his little, as Bill Burr famously said, it's like stapling ant legs to your scalp. Just like. As a quick side note, just before we actually get this thing going, that's one of those things where like body modification type stuff, especially aesthetic body modification, I am gonna be a late adopter on all of that. And also, like, as long as I'm like not super old and I don't get too super fat, I think I look fine. But the thing is, like, with like filler, the age of filler, there's just the age of like everything looks so trash. Like you just look like if you saying you look like plastic is a compliment if you do a lot of body modification type stuff. And it's just like, wait for it to get good. I think it's gonna get good.
I don't know. It's like a Catwoman.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to find this one.
Okay. Are you gonna make me put more shit on the screen?
Yeah. Okay, so here's her before, right? And then here's her now.
Oh right. Yeah. Yeah. Listen, this is. I don't know if this is safe for the children. I'm going to demonetize if I put this up. But everyone knows, what's her name again?
I have no idea.
But if you look at like the Catwoman and
Jocelyn Wildstein. There you go.
In the first picture, what she looked like before, I think that's not that bad at all. I think she looks she's not a young person anymore, but she looks very attractive in my opinion. And then she just looks like, a diseased baboon anus. Like, oof.
Yeah, body dysmorphia is a real thing, man. I mean, it's okay. So to help with your demonetization, getting the transitory surgery, mix it up on the algos, like that has been fine and accepted. But you have anorexia, body dysmorphia. You have bodybuilders that are just like pumping oil into their muscles. Body dysmorphia, like it's a real thing. Plastic surgery, and I mean, have to be happy with who you are and where you're at.
Yeah, it is. Like, I think you should be as happy as you can be with as much of what you were born with. As soon as, like, if I blew out a tendon, if a ligament in my knee, and I would absolutely get a fake one or a corpse graft or whatever the latest stuff on that is. If I would get titanium plates in whatever broke. I'd do whatever to just be a better person. And if like hair transplant is one of, like, I just don't care that much about hair unless I looked really trash as a bald man. Some people look good, some people don't. But maybe, I don't know. But like at some point, if my heart gave out, I'd get like a dual core put in there. I get two of them. So I just like, and then I could like parallelize my athletic stuff. So I could, I mean, there's so much like, if it was safe and it was like, otherwise I'm breaking down, I would absolutely do stuff. So it's just like, if you are, and this is the last thing before we roll the intro and actually go, but if you as a female, for example, if you are maybe lacking on the front side, I think you just like roll with it for the most part, unless it's like literal 12-year-old boy's mosquito bite, like it's awful, and then just don't go crazy with it. Don't, but try not to until the tech gets good. When the tech gets good and they can like grow one on like, the side of like a cow and then just graft it on or whatever, then maybe go to it. But
absolutely demonetized now.
Demonetized. Well, and funny enough, I just realized today there's a email from Coin ATM Radar in my inbox that I haven't read yet. I wonder if it's saying you're no longer sponsored. I haven't checked yet, but I will still shill them in 2 seconds. All right. Intro, 3, 2, 1, go. So, hey, and welcome to the Digital Cash Rundown, episode 181. It's 181 plus weeks in a row, a few more because there's a few unnumbered episodes. I'm joined by the one and only rarest of passengers, the bomb-ass hat. How's it going, man?
Cheers to Friday, man.
Is that a Diet Red Bull?
Sugar-free. I hate it. But...
Coffee's out there. That's all I'm saying.
It's not hitting the same anymore.
You need the good stuff. As I might have told on this podcast before, there's a coffee shop not too far from me that has a menu item called the Screamin' Demon, which is 4 shots of espresso with concentrated cold brew, and they put it in a tiki mug, like tiki mugs. And I've had one of those, and I got so like wigged out on caffeine that I went and had like a business meeting right after that. I was like all these ideas, and then like it just never got brought up. Anything I talked about just never got brought up in the future. It's just like it didn't exist. Someone is just like, yeah, let this guy calm down. We'll both agree this never happened. So
yeah, I mean, you
can do that with coffee.
Yeah, I mean, I have some smelling salts somewhere, so I could just like give that a whiff and get a wake up going. But
yes,
yeah.
Well, let's get into the actual stuff first. Let me get to shill Coin ATM Radar, which is funny. This podcast is likely still at this moment, but maybe not, sponsored by Coin ATM Radar. When buying crypto with cash, an ATM is much more reliable and safer than meeting some random person in a random place. And unlike an exchange, which could freeze your account, you truly own all the crypto you buy. Coin ATM Radar, you can find crypto ATMs and other services where you can buy or sell cryptocurrencies for cash. On their website, you search by coin, address, if the ATMs support selling as well as buying, and you can also search by geo area, such as country, state, or city. And you can also check and compare actual current fees at different ATMs. Do please find out more at coinatmradar.com, which is COINATMRADAR.com. COINATM. No, I'm not going to do a whole song out of that, but that's them. So, yeah, I'm not going to disservice everyone with attention with opening the actual email right in front of everyone, but I will get to that. Anyway, yeah, how have you been? How's life?
It's good. Adjusting, back to U.S. standards of living. It's not all that bad. It's been pretty good. So I'm happy to be back. That's for sure. This week and last week have been probably the busiest I've ever been. I gave a talk on digital nomadism, sovereignty, and crypto, and I think it was just that one announcement of the talk. It's been like every day I've had some kind of consultation call
Damn.
about it. And then this week too has been just like consultation calls. I'm like, I'm not charging any money for this,
You should
but I know, but I
make a
mean,
business out of it.
yeah, something about that. I mean, some people have bought dinner, which is nice, and some people have like given me passes. Like I was supposed to go to Bitcoin Naples today, but that's a 2 hour drive, and I'm not about the car life anymore. Screw that. So
Yeah, car life is something like I got into a vibe in the last year and into a rhythm of uh, travel, like international travel,
mm,
air travel, and I kind of like it because I got into liking it. I mean, there's a lot of nonsense, which last year culminated in Spirit Airlines like ripping me apart. So screw them, and I cyberbullied them literally until they went bankrupt, and then now there you go. But it is kind of freeing because like instead of having to get in the car and worry about parking, I just get my, especially if it's a short trip, my laptop bag with like
mm.
two pairs of pants and some other random stuff. And that's it. My computer. And I just get on the bus to the airport. I'm just sitting there working. I'm like a digital nomad from that point on. And I get to the airport. I'm just sitting there doing my stuff on the laptop, exploring a new, then flying to a new country. I'm free. I'm just out. I'm unleashed. And then I come back and I got to get, oh, this is my car. I have to be responsible for this vehicle and where it goes. And, it's like traffic isn't my problem if I'm on the bus. It is if it
Yeah.
makes me late for my flight, but that's kind of like, I'm just like, so I
Yeah,
get
see,
it.
this is one of those where you will own nothing and be happy. Maybe there's something to that. I don't know. I mean, the law. Looking at it from this point of view, it's like it was nice not having a car. Like
Hmm.
I grew up without cars. I'm a city boy, so it was always public transit or walking. Uh, Living where we were, it's just we were walking all the time. Like we take the metro from now, every now and then to get like longer distances, but for the most part, it's just walking. And I loved it. I felt human. That was the
I
bigger
love.
thing.
I wish I walked more.
Yeah, but we got used to just living out of a backpack and a suitcase. You know, it's nice not having to carry all the
Hmm.
stuff around and not worry about it. So,
Yeah, I think that in last possession related comment before we get to talk about the tether stuff, I do feel like obviously fungible resources, meaning like money, are
mm,
it's very good to have because you could do anything you want with them, at any and you don't have to worry about it. It's just on you and you do it. I do think that whether someone's a digital nomad or not, everyone should do supply contractions once in a while, so to speak, where it's not just spring cleaning, but like you should like pare down everything you got. And like if you don't buy more stuff, switch it out for better stuff. Harden
yeah,
the stuff you got and just keep it tight and compact to where like I find myself sometimes thinking I need a bigger house because there's shit all over the place here. But like at some point you just throw it out or you build better shelves and storage and make it like IKEA-ize your house. And then you have to say you just get more out of it. And it's like,
yeah,
higher, like I found over the last couple of years, like 3 or 4 years, I think I've been boozing significantly less, but the and I haven't had what could even be resemble a hangover in like many years now. But I probably spend more on booze than I ever have before because it just upped the quality and the time it takes to like make and research different combinations and all
mm,
that. I just like rather than now just like cheap crap, just drinking lots of cheap crap, just no. So
yeah,
just squish it all together, right? Just get better. Maximize utility.
yeah. What I've been doing, like I'm a book hoard, right? I
A
love
book whore.
reading. Yeah, book hoard and a book hoard. Like I love reading. It's. I mean, I have a lot of time to do that, but it sucks. Just like I can't do the digital, ebook stuff. I don't know what it is. It's just I don't have the same engagement. But when I read, a physical book, I love having that in my possession. But what I've really gotten back into is like commonplace booking. and it's just okay. There was a section I really like. Compress everything into a notebook, and I can carry that around. And it's almost like I'm carrying all the books, for the
Mm-hmm.
most part. But I could just get rid of them, and I still have my commonplace. Love it.
Which, speaking of which, I gotta go shill real quick. So Vlad he was on the podcast last week, and this is
Nice.
his Bitcoin Takeover magazine, the privacy edition. Feels bad, man. And then from the other side, it's the sailor's perspective. It's such a ridiculous thing. And if you meet Vlad or talk to him, he comes off very humorless. He's like a deadpan, like Weird Al Yankovic Dracula person, right? And it's just like, but he's quite a funny guy. He's quite interesting. There's a lot of great articles in here. I gotta find mine real quick, but
Yeah, I was reading through it. That was probably the only e-magazine I've actually ever read.
there we go. How to live privately on crypto. And it's funny because this was published very recently, and then like a couple weeks after it was, I got it published on X and everything else. And it was great, but it's already slightly outdated because I got some new tips for things you can use privately in crypto since then. So I'll have to keep updating, but this is a great signed copy by Vlad and etc. But he's selling these right now. So BTC takeover.com, like that, or bitcoin-takeover.com. You can get those. Again, he's not paying me shit for this. He works hard and he's one of the good ones in the space, so I might as well show.
Yeah, why not? I love his stuff. I mean, he's been outside of you, Naomi. He's been one of the most consistent like people in years, and not just like in terms of like the quality, but like his point of view has always been just like straight up on the cypherpunk ethos, which is really great to see, especially after all this, BS that we've gone through the last like 5 years.
Especially after the world just is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely cool. Anyway, let's hit on Tether before we just talk about everything else. Let's space that out towards the end. Tether licensed in El Salvador, strengthening focus on emerging markets and innovation, blah, blah, blah. And then good old Paulo says, Tether heart El Salvador. Very excited for Tether Group to relocate to El Salvador. El Salvador is the beacon of freedom. And Nayib Bukele is an inspiring leader, driving the country with love, passion, intelligence. Seguimos. So, yeah, so that's that headline. So, I've been thinking a lot about this, but I'll let you have the floor first.
Dude, there's so much Tether FUD, right? And I don't know where to put my thumb on this, other than, you know what, if that's the way it's going to go, if this is the business people want to be a part of, I mean, let them. I'm not touching stable coins. I mean, if I need to use them, it's usually through a swap, and I'm not holding it longer than it has to. But to put it eloquently, not my fucking problem.
Yeah.
Demonetized again.
Well, it's funny because they definitely do, like, they let you swear, right?
Oh yeah, I think well, as long as it's not like the FCC standards, because I think we can only say one major cuss word. They have tiers, so one of them, the F bomb, you can use like once, and then you get an R rating. But then if you're using like anything else, you get 2 strikes, and you can get like a PG-13 rating.
Yeah,
or a mature rating. So,
as a random thought on that, do you remember the movie Once? I don't know if you ever remember that one. It came out like 20 years ago. It must have. It was a Glenn Hansard, some Irish folk musician, and it was a sort of like semi-musical with him and some other chick or whatever. But it was just like a really sweet sort of, music and love story type thing with like nothing objectionable whatsoever, really, at all. Like nothing. I would even put it like it would be, in my opinion, it would be like a G-rated movie, except because it was Irish, and the Irish fucking just going down the fucking street, fucking. It was an R, and I'm like, man, this is like. Didn't the Temple of Doom, they like tear someone's heart out and stuff, and that's fine for PG-13, but then
Oh yeah,
like because this is an Irish movie, this is literal racism against the Irish at this point. They just strike it because they just don't like the way they talk. But
yeah, you never. So the whole like film rating situation is all politics too.
of course,
So you grease the right palm, you can get a nicer rating, and yeah.
yes. Well, speaking of demonetization, Love and Division commented on Odysee, Tether's fake and gay. So, yeah, sort of. To be, clear on the actual Tether subject, though, my degree of caring is only related to, it's just like as an observer of the space and the trends, and also I may or may not end up doing some business with Tether, but it's like personally I don't care at all. But it is kind of interesting because we're seeing it's like the joke of like the line in Europe that's separating like tomato Europe from potato Europe or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's just like the global South, as Ray Youssef likes to say. Are you in USDC land or USDT land? That's literally it, because Europe has embraced USDC because that's the closest to a regulated stablecoin they could have, I guess. And Tether boot out of Europe, and obviously USDC big in the US because Circle's in New York and all that stuff. Now Tether relocating to El Salvador, first of all, shows that, because I was like, are they going to get legit and be a legit contender, or like a legit according to the powers that be, or are they going to choose the path of this sketchy Chinese knockoff type vibe? And they chose number 2. This is it. They just left it. It's like, screw it, we're going to move to a jurisdiction that doesn't give a crap about what we do. And knowing that they chose their market being the developing world, the global South, and they're like, these people don't care how legit or not we are, as long as it works, as long as we can provide financial services to people that don't have them. And so they're like, bye, we're going to go there. And I think that obviously that means that USDC is going to significantly increase market share, but I do think that means that Tether is going to be around for a long time now. Now they made that move. They picked a sustainable long-term path. And so it is what it is.
What I understand is that Tether is like one of the 3rd largest buyers of U.S. Treasuries.
Yeah.
And that's been brokered by Howard Lutnick of Cantor Fitzgerald, and he's on the Trump transition team, who's also got tie-ins with BlackRock and all the other financial institutions. So there's definitely some ploy there where people are, somebody's making money, but ultimately, if you want to capture a nation, you don't have to do something. You don't have to do physical warfare now. Now you can do economic warfare. So if the global South is going to be captured by USDT, I mean Tether, but it's really U.S. Treasuries and it's still regulated some way, somehow. Like, what a way to go! A quiet and it's a very silent takeover. Then with Europe, and USDC, I think something is going on with Circle, because aren't they supposed to have like a Euro stable coin, right? EURC or something like that. So there's some kind of partnership with it. It's MiCA compliant and blah blah blah.
So, as someone in the business, and I've said this, probably this will be like the 3rd time on a podcast I've said it, but I don't know if I said it to you. But someone I'm working with is in the regulated banking space in the EU and the fintech kind of bridge areas, and basically said that USDC is not really MiCA compliant, but if according to their stablecoin things, but if they had to let them in, because otherwise there would be no regulated stablecoins in the EU. They just have no one. So you're the least bad of the bunch. So I think that what they're doing is they're sort of signaling, okay, look, you get a freebie, but you got to get your shit together. And if you want to launch this Euro thing, like we'll work with you to get you to where you're abiding by all our fake rules, or fake and gay, whatever, applying with all those rules, and then you're in. But USDC is definitely, once they played the long, like they did not win, and this is the weird part. They did not win by making a better. They're winning ish, but they did not win by making a better product than Tether. They won by playing the regulatory long road, where they're like, at some point this stuff's going to come together. We're going to be as sketchy as we need to get as far as we can, but in the back of our mind, we're thinking we're here for when the government supports us. And so by doing that, and Tether was just like, just doing all their stuff, and then Tether caught up with them. We cut out for a little bit there, but let me just, while you're kind of getting back on your thing, just flip back over here. The funny thing is,
you got cut out there, bud.
I heard you now. I hear you now.
All right. So
get your beautiful face back in there. There we go.
So what I was saying is, like, I mean, everybody's aligning themselves with, power, right? I mean, essentially, it's like you're in a turf war. You've got Bloods on one side, Crips on the other,
potatoes on one side, tomatoes on another.
Yeah, so it's like, which force do you want to align yourself with, and who's going to protect you better? So, all right, I mean, Circle lining up with the current power structure, and then Tether going to another power structure. It's like, well, who's going to win out in this boxing match, right? I mean, it starts off as an economic warfare, and then maybe it turns into a physical warfare. I don't know, but there's definitely people picking camps.
Yeah,
I mean, sure. I mean, if there's going to be stable coins, I'd rather that there's a bunch of them, right?
Yeah.
So not just the USD and USDC. Just give me a digital yen or a digital franc, or digital fucking Aussie bucks. Something. Don't just one. That's lame.
Yeah, or even if they're all USD something, because the other fiat suck, right? Like USD sucks, but it's the least sucky. USD is the USDC of fiat. It sucks, but it's like the least sketchy of all of them, kind of. I mean, I'm glossing over so much by saying that, but yeah, I'd rather have competition. And here's the thing.
And that's the thing. Okay, hold on.
Okay, go ahead. Rant.
There is competition, right? You have all these other payment cryptos that are out there, and no one. I mean, just like we're like a very minuscule percentage of people who use the tech, right? Why is it that it's just the stable coin, USDC, USDT, and those are the two larger ones. I mean, come on, people, like, wake the fuck up. There's so many competing currencies here. You have a choice, and you should be pressuring everybody, at least online retailers, to take the damn thing. I mean, now payments and, CoinGate and all that stuff, they're there. They make it easy. It's so lazy at this point. And maybe just everybody's cucked. Yeah. And that's it. Game over. This whole thing has been just nothing more than a charade. But we have competing currencies.
Yeah, and that's really what the thing is with competition. The free market is very interesting because the free market is like a living organism, and it works together so that all the aggregate of products fills all the needs optimally. And obviously nothing's a free market with regulated stuff, but it's close enough with crypto where you have enough random things. And so it could be that some, like the top cryptos in terms of people like Tether, this is for payment perspectives, I'm saying top cryptos, they're there because nothing else has gotten close to being as useful or good according to all the other, even if the tech is great, it just hasn't reached saturation. The volatility is still too much, like all the other stuff. And so they're forced to compete in different areas for the time being. And if something like that blows up or the centralized stablecoins become like funky, then all of a sudden you're going to need people using decentralized money. All of a sudden, then they're like, well, Litecoin's been used as payments, is pretty stable. Let's just anoint that the new Tether. And people are going to do, and that, it used to be that way. And then stablecoins superseded that because people are more kind of familiar with the value of that. But so at some point, it's all going to be around. I do want to say, shout out to my article I haven't published yet on the value thing. But basically the value investing in cryptos, because people just buy a token thinking it does a thing. And then it doesn't do the thing and they get mad. And so the thing is,
the number did not go up, Joel.
yes.
What the hell?
And here's the thing. The number does go up, but it might be a different number. And you might buy into something, but then you buy the wrong thing that doesn't go up with that number, if that makes any sense. So, like, for example, the biggest thing about that, the ICO boom had a lot of trash, but it had a lot of legitimate companies come out of the ICO boom. And for example, Ethereum was one of the, it wasn't arguable if it's a company, it's more of a decentralized thing, whatever. But Ethereum came out, it was like the first great ICO. There was a lot of good companies that came out of that. The problem is, I think all the ICO investors got wrecked because they bought a token. And then what does a token do? Nothing. So if, let's just say you want to start, RarePassenger Consulting LLC, whatever the hell, for whatever you want to do, you want to start a profitable business, you drop the Rare token, and everyone buys it, and you raise all this money, and then you become a very profitable, cash positive business. How does that translate to the token holder if it's not built in? Is there a legal contract? If there is, yes. If not, is it built in that every single, out of all your revenue, you buy and burn a certain amount of the token? So if that's not said, you just don't, everyone who bootstrapped your successful business just gets screwed. And like, people don't understand this. They're like, oh, people are using Litecoin. Why isn't it price going up? I'm like, why would it? Past, especially if you don't spend a lot of time in Litecoin, you buy it to use it, to spend it, and then that's it. So you don't need the price to be higher. You don't jack up the price by buying it. But then, there's no supply shock on that.
It's funny because, it comes to mind like 1 Bitcoin equals 1 Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. And that should be the pricing mechanism on the internet, right? Or 1 Litecoin, 1 dash, 1 dash. And you save the fiat stuff for meat space, but that didn't happen. It's I only understand fiat and the number of fiat and what fiat buys me in meat space land instead of cyberspace, and it's just kind of a whole kind of diluted concept now.
Yeah, it's the thing. Yeah. And here's the thing: the token. It's important to think every cryptocurrency is at its base a gas token. And what is it a gas token for? Ethereum was a gas. I mean, the L2 stuff muddied the waters. We'll get into that another time. But Ethereum was a gas token for everything people want to do. So you buy enough of it to power your NFTs, to power your DeFi stuff, to move USDC around, all that kind of stuff. Bitcoin is the gas token to move Bitcoin. But Bitcoin is also the product token, as in the end user wants to just own Bitcoin. And it's also the investment token. If you want to invest in the future of Bitcoin, you buy Bitcoin. So it's kind of like all of those in one token, which people don't realize you just don't get elsewhere. It doesn't happen the same way. You kind of need to think about other things. And so people are I equate people buying a crypto that they like and getting mad when it doesn't make them rich, to being like hoarding crude oil, and then the automobile industry takes off. They're like, why am I not rich? I got all these barrels in my basement. It's like, dude, unless there's a supply shock, you're not going to make a lot of money off of that stuff. It's just, there is demand for it, but if you're a gas station, you will make money because you're dealing this very necessary fuel for the new car economy, sure, you'll make money. If you manufacture and sell automobiles and it's booming, you'll make a lot of money. If you supply oil, sure, you'll make money. But if you just have it, like, the price of oil does not need to go up. Like, it does sometimes, but like it goes down sometimes. Like, do you think fewer people are driving today than when gas prices were all time high? Not really. It's just
Right,
that
but then
the dynamics are different.
right,
So
but then even with trading on that end, what ends up being more valuable isn't so much the asset itself as much as the contract, right? So what is that one Wall Street saying? It's like, oh, you bought trading sardines, you know. So like, this is the can that this is the contract, the can that's getting traded back and forth. Then someone takes it off the market, they take delivery, and they open it up. It's all rancid. It's like, oh no, you're not supposed to eat that. Like, that's the can that you trade between people, you know. So sure, you can have the underlying asset, but if it's, what good is it if no one's really using it? If what it's being used for is nothing more than just to, trade amongst, the market itself.
yeah, it's like, think for 2 seconds about what you're buying and what it does.
Oh,
It's
hold on. You said a very, very triggering word there, Joel.
think.
Okay, think is, yeah. People get angry when you tell them to do that.
Yeah. It's like, okay, this is the last demonetized thing I'll say for the next 10 minutes, but knowledge is the new N word. And I understand that knowledge isn't even, it starts with a K. I get it. That's what makes it funny, is it's ridiculous.
Well, I mean, I keep like referring back to it, but it like Steve Patterson just nailed it on the head. The dark ages, right? This is where we're living in currently, is an information blackout. And I've said this in a few talks. It's like the gap between the people who know and the people who don't know is so massive and large, right? And all those who don't know, they happen to just live in the margin. And then when things do come right at the margin, they get angry at the people who knew. And you're one of the people who knows, and you've been like screaming it for years, for a decade or more. Like, hey, this is what's happening, and no one listens. And then when it finally hits the fan, all those people, get mad at you. It's like, why didn't you tell us this? I did. I told you to think. And then I got demonetized, So.
Yeah. So, well, speaking of Tether, on this other thing, just a small footnote. Scoop: Tether sues Swan in High Court of England and Wales, alleging significant breaches against Bitcoin mining joint venture. Swan has acted recklessly. Consequently, we have been compelled to take necessary measures to protect our investment. So, this is like too hard swinging it out. Like, this is not. This is not. And it turns out with crypto, there's no better place to have ridiculous, like, losers fighting in court than the UK. Because it happened with like Craig Wright too. Remember, Craig Wright's stuff was all the UK. I don't know what it is about UK's court system that makes everyone want to do like Thunderdome in there.
I have no idea, but this is the funniest shit I've read.
Yes.
If I'm being honest,
it's great.
Yeah, I didn't expect this. And I mean, credit where credit's due. It's a product. People use it. It served a need, but I found it super cringe, and as a brand, and a lot of controversy behind it. And so this was just insult to injury, and the Schadenfreude from all of this is very potent, and I'm okay with it.
Yeah, there's not really a lot to say because it's just like a small footnote of things. But it is kind of funny because, first of all, I'm being petty because Corey Clipston blocked me for calling us toxic maxi nonsense. So now I just like hope for his demise, sort of thing.
It's already there. You didn't have to hope for it.
Yeah, well, there you go.
It just happened.
Here's the thing. Corey, like all true maxis, was one of the worst shitcoiners. And then he just transitioned to the virtue signal. I know many such cases. And created basically a terrible wrapper on top of an exchange that only Bitcoin, just to scam noobs and stuff. Say this is more righteous than Coinbase. No, I'd rather listen. Coinbase is sketchy, as we'll get into in a little bit, but I'd much rather trust Coinbase than Swan. And here's the thing about Swan. In addition to just a buy and sell Bitcoin place, it's not even a sell Bitcoin place. It's the Hotel California. It's one way. And so I actually had
they were using like Fortress or something like that, some other
yes,
guarantor for their coins and their holding, and then they had to switch to like another one and another one. It's like, oh, at least Coinbase at least supposedly owns the asset that they're selling you.
Yeah.
Even if it's questionable and they don't do a proof of reserve or whatever, it's like still there's more credibility to Coinbase than there is Swan.
Yeah, absolutely. And because I actually know an elderly fellow who heard about Swan from I don't know where, and that's where he bought all his Bitcoin. All his entire retirement is in Bitcoin, basically. And I had to like help him because they had some weird solvency when they were switching some stuff. I was like,
yeah.
The first thing I thought, I just messaged this guy right away. I'm like, dude, I want to make sure you're not wrecked. Can you?
Yeah.
I got him with a hardware wallet, and he got it all figured out. But then he's like, oh, well, since that's what he has, now he's like, oh, I made some money because Bitcoin went up. I want to go on vacation right now, and I don't have the fiat. I'm going to sell some Bitcoin for the vacation. And that was several weeks of an ordeal because he can't just go back onto where he bought it from and sell it again because, nope, it's one way only. It's turnstile, And so then I had to be like, well, Coinbase, but then they didn't accept his KYC in time and a bunch of other stuff. And I'm just like, I kept on trying to be like, what do you want to pay for? Do you want like to buy a flight? I can teach you how to do that straight with crypto. Do you want to load a prepaid card so you can? I don't even have a phone. Okay, so it was an ordeal. But the point is, and then also they're the hodl tax people that they started getting charged custody fees for customers through one of their providers, and now Swan customers have to pay a hodl tax. And they're like, it's not, we're fighting it, but they're still charging you while we're fighting it. And so
I remember that. Oh, fuck.
The dumpster fire of dumpster fires of maxi things. And there was some THORChain stuff recently, which I will go into in a little bit. But Bitcoin Magazine, who I used to do business with, and at some point they said we can't do business anymore because we're transitioning to a maxi-only publication. We're not talking about anything that's not Bitcoin from here on out, only Bitcoin. So I remember that, except if it's time to try to dunk on what seems to be some altcoin going boom, then all of a sudden they change their rules. But I looked, they've not mentioned a single bit of the Swan insolvency fears drama. And now at the end of this whole thing, Tether's what I could call embattled, right? Tether's not like perfect, but then even they're suing Swan. So like, listen, I don't know, go woke, go broke.
Well, it's more than that. I mean, in the information age, right? I think we can all agree we are finally here. Having quality information is really important, and the battlefield is what people read. It's all propaganda for the most part, right? If it's not for the grift, then it's for the rift, and you're trying to make people look bad, and you're trying to sway people into one opinion. And I mean, there's a lot of discernment individuals have to do, because no one's going to do it for you. You have to figure it out, right? Like, there's an example that comes to mind. Oh, two examples that come to mind. Is one was the LA fires. There was a guy on TikTok, he was showing that his house is on fire, and he's like, oh, there's no water. Okay, I saw that. But, the first thing that comes to mind is like, all right, one, where's he at? Two, is this valid? Three, is there anything supporting his claims about what's going on? Yes. Everything checked out? Cool. But the normal person is not going to do that. Normal person's going to see it at face value, be like, oh shit, there's no water, but no one verifies. Whatever happened to the whole don't trust, verify motto? That seems to be thrown out the window. Then the next one that comes to mind is there was another TikTok video of this guy was saying, well, hey, look, the automatic faucet's racist, and then if you look at the way he does it the first time around, he puts his hand under it, he palm side up because it's lighter skin, and it works. But then he does it, hands backside up, and it doesn't work. But if you look closely, right, he does it in a way where his hand is lower than where the infrared is able to read. So it's like, oh, wait a minute, you're playing the game here. So there's so much information that gets missed, and it's misleading. And so with this whole Tether and Swan FUD and magazine publications with other publications, everybody is it's a mind fuck, right?
Yes,
It's
absolutely.
all muddy waters. You have to really discern what's real, what isn't, and a lot of fact checking, quote unquote. That's an uncool word now, but
Well, yeah, everything in like a lot of encrypted stuff, like for example, or just privacy in general, like the Tor browser, how it routes traffic, the onion routing and stuff, and like Monero, how when you send a transaction, it sends like 7 or 8. One's real, the rest are just out there, and
right,
just all this stuff. The way you hide things is sometimes you go the zero knowledge route, right? Where you just find a way to not have to reveal it to begin with, which is perfect. It's the ideal. But we're in this information glut era where it's going to be, if something gets out there, it can get out there. So what people do is they just flood. So now there's just a flood of so many different outputs, and now which is the real one? And
right,
it's an interesting. I do think that that's why, paradoxically, this is the era where we have the happiest and most unhappy people at the same time in human history, because there's never been more opportunity out there. You can do anything you want. If you're a bald motherfucker, you can get hair, like as we covered earlier, right? You could get roids, you can get whatever, you can live for a long time, you can travel to anywhere in the world, you can code, you don't even have to code. You just like say, can you code this for me? And it does it. And now you're a developer. There you go. Like there's so much opportunity. It's like, Ready Player One dream in the real world today. It's amazing. But also it's just, people are used to competing for survival in a very fixed rules game of, acquire the resources, copulate, eat, try not to die, try to make sure your offspring doesn't, and every once in a while take in a sunset and a nice breath of fresh air and get hammered. Like that's the game, the human game for all of humanity, and people were very good at playing that game, and now the game is just like Minecraft. You're just out there, just do anything, build stuff, whatever, and people are unhappy and depressed because they're like, I don't know what to do, man. There's just all this stuff.
yeah. Well, it's certain people who are
Yes.
unhappy, right? I would say like people my age, and the Gen Xers. Like I know a lot of individuals who are just really unhappy. But if I outside of like my meetup circle and friends and talking to employees and my peers and all that in the industry, like they're all miserable. They're all just they don't know how to cope with the change. And I think the was it Gen Z and Gen Alpha,
Mm-hmm.
like they're the ones who are gonna like for them it's gonna be the norm.
Yeah.
Like I'm watching the transition happen. And watching people just like completely freak out because, oh no, I don't know what to do anymore.
Yeah, and also I do think that even like there's every generation, I guess, adjusts to the baseline. Like they're
Right.
there. And so I have the beautiful set of circumstances to be have been old. I'm old enough, have been poor enough, and have been miserable enough to where this is peak happiness zone right here. Where now I have like I know how far down the pool goes, and now I'm just like, I can do anything. And like I remember fiat and how much that sucked, but I've been just like, I remember how much crypto sucked, and then I remember how cool it is today, and it's just like, so many things have gotten so good. Whereas I think that some people who are maybe a little older or maybe just less adaptable are like, I'm confused in this new world and I hate my life. And then there's people who are born into all this choice and they don't understand what choices they should be making. So they just fall into a path and they're just like, man, I've always been able to do everything I want and I don't like it.
Right.
So,
It's the scarcity mindset versus the abundancy mindset,
yeah.
right? Like I've operated in a scarcity mindset for so long, and it's taken me a few years to adjust to the idea that no, there's abundancy everywhere, like
Mm-hmm.
opportunities everywhere. It's not an all or nothing. Like there's enough to go around, and it's really kind of changed the outlook. Where I think it was like a couple of years, I'm just like, I'm so tired of this. Like I'm tired of the crypto world and all the friction that it has. And then you remember fiat, like you were saying, and how shit that was, and you're just like,
It's
it's
nasty.
not that bad.
Yeah, it could
We're
be
okay.
better.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
could be better. I mean,
Yeah.
even now, it's despite all the drama, because that's how what I call it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just fucking drama. Like, I mean, really, we're 16 years into this experiment. By all stretch, it's a toddler, right? Well, like you said, it's New Hampshire legal, and there's still so much to learn. I think we have like another couple decades before things really mature and everybody finds their way. But it's
Yeah.
drama.
It's just
So
drama in the meantime. Well,
yeah,
speaking of drama, throw up the THORChain thing here. Now, how much of this have you looked into?
I read a little bit from Bitcoin Magazine because somebody tossed it over. It's like, oh, you recommended THORChain. I'm like, yeah, THORChain's decentralized exchange, right? It's got products. A lot of it's code based, and I mean, it's a matter of looking at liquidity markets, right? Like what's there, and it's transparent. It's not as if it's not there and you can't verify for yourself, right? But I'm not in the weeds in this one like you are.
Yeah.
So if you want to fill me in on this one and kind of like help me go through the gaps, I'm more than happy to get that update.
Yeah. I am not like so deep into the knowledge of all the different specifics to where I could be considered an expert. Definitely not. But as far as someone who like a headline reader type person, I don't know. I feel like I have like a 7.5 out of 10 understanding of this whole situation, which is not bad actually. So
What's the saying? You're in the trenches.
yeah, I'm in the trenches where I'm not is in the financial wizardry era where I can understand because THORChain is a financial system. It's not just a money system. It's an entire complicated financial system and how some of these things impacting like I'm not a finance nerd. I don't know this. I get some basic concepts. So here's the thing. THORChain has the Rune token, and then all these liquidity pools are half Rune, half Bitcoin, half Rune, whatever. And then if the value of one of these goes down, it automatically sells the other half to rebalance the pool. It's just kind of the way it works, right?
Right.
And so THORChain is a machine where if you want Bitcoin and you have Ethereum, you throw Ethereum into the Ethereum pool, and then the Bitcoin comes out of the Bitcoin pool and you get it. And then there's a little bit of fees that come out of that. Most of the fee, like half of the fee, a little over half of the fees typically goes to people who put their collateral in those pools or whatever. People who run the machines, and some of it goes to the people who run the websites that allow you to connect, like THORSwap, like Thor Wallet, like Voltisig, like Trust Wallet now that has that, like Edge Wallet has it in there too. Like all these things take a little cut of it too. It's a genius economic design, and they have. I think THORChain does around half Kraken's volume, and Kraken's a big exchange, and THORChain is decentralized, and so for a decentralized exchange to be doing those numbers, it's very good with very good price execution. The network and the fees generated by THORChain, as far as like revenue, if you consider the network to be a business, I think it was like 30 million last year, and then 25 million extra just went to the businesses, like the wallets that are running it. So that's a profitable business. That's a good business, right? So
For being decentralized too.
yeah,
Like it's not a Kraken or Coinbase, standards.
yeah. However, the Rune token holders have been losing money because the Rune price hasn't been doing super well, and there's a million reasons for that, and I can't really understand all of them. But the drama surrounded these two things. One is called savers, and one is called lending. Savers let you do a savings account where you put Bitcoin in, then after like 6 months or however until you decide to withdraw, you get the same amount of Bitcoin in plus interest, plus like 3%
Oh,
or
it's I've used it, the savers. So it's like you can pull out at any time. There's no restriction on when you go in and when you go out. You just have to pay the fee, right?
mm-hmm.
And from what I experience, it's like it's just what's the liquidity, because you can see the interest rate change, you know, in real time. It's like, oh, I'm getting 2%. Oh, now I'm getting 1. Oh, I'm getting half, and it all depends on what's happening like in the pools.
Yes.
You know,
So you get basically, I think it's something like half, like, let's just say there's like revenue comes into the pool. Based on the value of that, you don't get your percentage. You get half of it because you have no risk, no volatility risk like everyone else does. So you get half the percentage, half the APY on it that everyone else gets, half the rate because you don't have any of the risk, but which is a good deal for the most part. So the thing is, when you guarantee things, you can't guarantee anything without someone else taking the risk for you. So the pool operators were taking it. So if the price of, Rune crashes and then all of a sudden, the pool kind of rebalances or whatever, now you still have to give the same amount of Bitcoin back to the person. So now whoever did not do this savers thing is kind of on the hook for that. And the lending situation is super complicated in how the tokenomics end up working out, but it's the same type of thing. You put Bitcoin in, let's say Bitcoin, and you get USDC or whatever out, and then or whatever you want to get out and then if you want to jailbreak your collateral back in, you just have to pay off that initial amount. And so, and that burns Rune, their native token, to mint to create the loan, and it inflates the supply when you cash in on it. So that's kind of how it worked. And by the way, you froze for a second, so I'm going to keep on ranting while you're unfreezing. But so what happens then is the risk is if the network doesn't do super well for whatever reason, and these people who are in savers and loans, welcome back. The people who are in savers and loans and lending, they still are guaranteed their money. Even if the protocol loses money, they still have a guarantee. So the bigger of a guarantee the network has to pay, then the worse it could be. So
right?
it's just like it put some weird pressures on the price that didn't do well. But both of those functions were capped at like 10% of pool depth or something like that. So there's only so much it could happen, the damage that could happen in case of a bank run. So people were bitching because token holders bitch, and they were like, well, and they're like, well, okay, this system that we designed doesn't work because it puts too much pressure on the core people who run the network, and it's just not sustainable. So we should do something about it. JP, who's the enigmatic THORChain founder guy, who's also been on this podcast, by the way, a good episode with him, very brilliant guy, very hardworking, a lot of good things to say, a little bit of a move fast and break things guy, though. He was like, yeah, you know what? This sucks. What we're going to do, there's an admin key. So the way THORChain, I would say, still works for maybe until they fix it in like a couple weeks or whatever. But for a while, it had this admin key that someone with this key can stop the network with a push of a button, and then the nodes, the decentralized part, can override that later. So it's kind of a way of like, if someone's about to lose a lot of money because of a bug, you hit the stop button, everything stops, and you can fix the bug and resume. But if someone's like, I want to bring down the network, the nodes can still override them and get it moving again. So JP decides to, in what I think that we will all agree, including himself, decide was a stupid decision. He just said, we're going to stop those functions, hit stop. and then we'll just, which, other than being an abrupt move that wasn't really well consulted, it freezes people's money. So now they can't get their money out of the savers or lending, and that causes a freaking panic. So he
Yeah.
does that. The nodes override him not too long later, which is a great decentralization thing, where the the founder slash head person gets just like overridden by the network. So great sign. But still, it's like the drama of, oh my gosh, are they insolvent? Like a quarter or more of the loans got closed overnight, and like inflated the rune price. But like it was like a quarter of a bank's customers doing a bank run, and it just, the network ate it up just fine, and things are going fine. The next THORChain update, they're going to get rid of that centralized admin key and make sure that now you have to have a few nodes that do it. And so you're not as fast acting in case of like a bug, but they're just like, yeah, we don't need that centralized shit anymore. So
Right. I mean,
so
all
that's
in
kind of
all,
where
like,
we're at.
yeah. Well, I mean, given that situation, I'm still like, wow, that's really positive, all things considered.
I think so, personally.
I mean, what is it? There was a kind of an analogy. This was there was an episode. I don't know if anybody's ever watched the show. This is Avenue Five, right? Absolutely brilliant. It was in season two, and everybody gets trapped with a cannibal. Like he's on board, and they close everyone off in their own compartments.
Mm-hmm.
And uh, the main captain is getting all kinds of complaints from the passengers on the ship, and he's like, well, at least they're still complaining. It's like we have to worry when they stop.
Because then they're about to either mutiny or they're already dead or something.
Exactly. So I'm like, yeah, you kind of take things, for what they are, and it's like, well, yes, people complain because something happened with the network, but then you look at the network from a 30,000 foot view, and it's like it's still working.
Yeah.
Like that's amazing. Like that part's really amazing, and
It is a genius design. And here's the thing also. The lending and savers, they moved maybe a little too fast at trying to build goodies for the people. And I love those goodies, by the way, because like what you can get like interest on any crypto without the volatility risk. This is great. Other than just the cryptos, like, and also like, oh, you mean I can spend my crypto at a bear market bottom, and I don't have to actually like. And then if it spikes, I can still jailbreak it for the amount I spent. It's like, this is awesome. These are great tools, but the bread and butter was the business, which is swaps. And
right.
they kind of got distracted trying to build this other stuff. And it ended up hurting the main product by not only causing drama, but making the people who power the main product by providing liquidity for these pools like worse off. And inmates got restless. As another
Yeah.
wrinkle to the whole story with like JP's sort of erratic behavior, now he came out publicly after that to say that he's basically going through a divorce and he's selling everything he owns basically and becoming like a nomad. He's going through some personal turmoil. I know he has a young kid, and that's got to be really rough, where now he's like, his whole world collapsed kind of, and I'm sure it caused some erraticism in his behavior, as he's said. So
Yeah.
he's stepping away a little bit. There's tons of other people in THORChain. It's all going to be great, but it was just an interesting
Yeah.
drama episode.
Yeah. I mean, it's just there's the human element, which I think we always forget about. Like, okay, crypto is the tech, and that makes up like a good 80% of what's in the space, but the most potent 20% is the human aspect and like what happens in people's lives. There's still a person writing code. It's not
Well,
some
not anymore, but
algorithm.
sure.
Well, I mean, when it comes up with these ideas and people maintaining systems until AI completely takes over, but even in the case of sentient AI, it's still going to have its own thought process and dilemmas.
Mm-hmm.
So it won't. It'll still be human-ish, but probably even more imperfect.
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe.
Things and here's the thing, it's going to be fine. Now they're drilling down on their core proposition. They just added the base chain, and base is like, which, foreshadowing, right? Base is hot business right now. And funny enough, the Maya protocol, little what they call THORChain's hot little sister. People have called it, but that's, I don't know how I feel about that characterization. But it's it never had these issues, and it's just kind
Hmm.
of like the no drama one, because they're waiting for THORChain to kind of like pave the way with more of these innovative things. They are still doing lending and savers and stuff at some point in the future again, but they're doing it on a separate layer that's not exposed, that doesn't basically put pressure on the main stuff. So it's kind of like a separate business. So it's not like
Right.
the trading business starts to become unprofitable despite revenue because it's supporting this other thing. So that'll be interesting to see. Now, foreshadowing to Coinbase, right? Everyone's favorite thing. So, Coinbase developer platform released announcing on-chain reputation API, non-public beta. Unlock powerful insights into on-chain addresses with scores ranging from -100 to +100, plus detailed metadata. Positive scores reflect strong on-chain activity, while negative scores flag potential risks. Here's what you can do, blah, blah, blah. So, before getting into just more of that, I might as well flip to your first take, which was the future is. Did you make this, by the way?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
So for the audio listeners or whatever, if we even have any, you change Coinbase to Cuckbase. It's like the future of cuckery is here. We spy on people and businesses when they buy, sell, and use crypto. Total cuckery is our goal. This is top stuff, I think. And it does make me happy that you're laughing at your own jokes this much, because that's why you make them, is because you like them. I think it's good stuff.
it's. I mean, it's not as on the nose as the last one, which is like the Lightning Bro cucking with BlackRock.
Yeah.
That one's still been my top tier one, but I mean, it was funny. I thought it was funny. So
Yeah, I laughed a lot when I saw it. And it was just like, yeah. It's funny
like,
because it doesn't make any kind of a logical argument whatsoever, but at the same time, everyone understands exactly what it is, and that it's correct, sort of. So, and this is one of, listen, the THORChain stuff. I had a pretty deep level of knowledge on, relatively
yeah,
speaking. This I have no level of knowledge on. I want to keep it that way, because when I dig into it, it's probably going to be more like when you have like, see, because like with credit,
Hmm.
in you're always taking a risk, and you assess, as a lender, you assess the risk based on credit scores and things
Right.
like that. And basically, a lot of people are into base and stuff like that for DeFi-esque things. Now, the don't trust verify can be expensive, because you have to wait for confirmations, you have to limit this, you have to put collateral up before you can do that, and et cetera, et cetera. There's all these kinds of things. There, having a risk scoring stuff is a very valuable product, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, I
And
mean, part of it is
yes.
so they what was it Coinbase back in 2020 2021, they had a lending product, right? It was
Mm-hmm.
I used it for the business many times because I mean it was stupid not to. They had it's like an interest rate of 7% when the market was doing 15, 20%. It was
Mm-hmm.
ridiculously low. And I mean, it was great, having to do gap financing, on productions and bringing Bitcoin in and out. It was great. It was fantastic. Then they had to stop. And so the thing about their uh, credit score on chain, if you read the documentation, most of it is for Coinbase wallets. So
Mm-hmm.
anybody who's on the exchange, anybody who has a Coinbase wallet, anyone on the base chain, and anything that has to touch Coinbase's ecosystem. Like so, that's what they're using to calculate the credit score. And the reason for this one that came out, or the social credit score, is because Coinbase is launching their lending product again on the base token, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it kind of makes sense. You're gonna do Bitcoin based loans. They're doing it on base. I think it's like the CBBTC is the token that's it's like wrapped. So I mean, they're completely cutting out, Ethereum or anything else on that level. So the more you dig, the more you realize, okay, Coinbase is trying to come out with a new lending product. They're trying to come out with this wallet. They're trying to do all this other stuff. So, and because they're also heavily regulated, right? And they manage the coins from the ETFs, and they also manage coins from institutions and high net worth individuals. Like this thing is regulated to the nines. So it only makes sense that that's where like all of this on-chain analytics stuff is going to come into play. Because I was talking with a few people in a group chat about it, and it's like, well, it doesn't really work outside of Coinbase, especially with Bitcoin, for example, and how XPubs and addresses work. Every time you have a new address. It's a new wallet, so to speak. So it doesn't really make sense, and it's a lot of compute power to try to analyze all of it. Versus like if you're on Coinbase, you only have one wallet address, and you're sending to and from, and the way the analytics for Coinbase's credit score works is that it looks at the wallet, how new it is, how many transactions it's done, where the transactions go, and whether they're spending it or like trading or trying to arbitrage it somewhere else. It sucks for anybody who's on the exchange, but for people who are high net worth individuals, institutions, hedge funds, and these ETFs, it like brings a breath of security for them.
Yeah.
So
and I have to say, like, this is not something I am. This is not something that I like about this era of crypto. I do think you should be able to engineer better solutions than reputation and risk. And there is something with so there's something in THORChain, for example, called the outbound delay, where if I swap, let's say I swap Bitcoin for Ethereum, it will, depending on certain circumstances, it can intentionally delay how long it takes me to get the Ethereum out of it, just in case something is sketchy. And in my opinion, that's because you're swapping crappy chains that just, have poor security. It's not like the Bitcoin has to wait for transactions and then you could 51% attack and steal from the pool, maybe. And so rather than just trying to get it out real quick before you can, get the next coin out, it just significantly reduces that probabilistic risk of something sketchy. And in order to fix that and make it a lot better, they added something called Swapper Clout, where built in based on certain reputations of certain addresses transacting, then the outbound delay gets reduced. And It's a very smart sort of business decision type thing. And in the same way, this Coinbase reputation stuff is a very smart business decision kind of a functionality. It's just the free market reacting to a demand. That being said, I don't like that direction. I don't like the direction where we're using reputation systems in order to do commerce. I think we should be building around the inherent flaws in not being able to trust people, not trying to reduce the we're not trying to be able to trust people more. We're trying to need to trust people less, in my opinion. We should be building products instead of for example, some dexes and Open Bazaar had this and stuff. They had arbiters and stuff, or escrow while you're waiting to get your thing. And at some point, you'd not want to have that. You'd want to just, when you press buy, you buy the thing and no one gets screwed either way, which is a really hard goal to get to, but you can. I think you can get further if you try. I just don't like this kind of stuff where you're not trying.
It's kind of like a phantom wallet. Like if you're trying to swap out, it'll give you a prompt that says, this wallet hasn't had any transactions in it, right? So something like phantom wallet's already doing something similar. But this is just
the guardrail.
Yeah, but this is my impression, is that when we talk about people at the margin, I think the the understanding is that it's the, like your mom and dad, right, who don't use crypto, or some uh, person who's just like stressed out to the nines, have never touched, an exchange or anything like that. I don't think that that's the person at the margins solely or exclusively. I also think these companies and businesses, they themselves are operating at the margin, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they don't know any other way, how to do business. They have to comply with regulations. They have to work with the regulators. They've got to, do all these things still in, you know, internet 1.0, and things have gone so far beyond that now, right? So like you're not at the margin, you're on the outskirts, right?
Yeah.
Where you understand how the system works, you understand how transactions can go, and you know that it's trustless because of, proof of work and blah blah blah. So you're no longer like on the sidelines, you're not at the margins, but Coinbase is still on the margins, which is the part that really like that gets me thinking, is like, wow, okay, so even the big money, right? Like BlackRock still operates in the margin. We want to think, oh, they're innovators, they're this and that, but complying to regulations in the crypto space is like, nah, man, you're still on in the safe zone, right? What's that saying? It's like the Romans were reluctant to acknowledge the transition of change, and so
Mm-hmm.
are we, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. It's
So
good. Sorry, go ahead. I didn't realize.
no, so I mean, like that's something um, that kind of like presses upon my mind, is like, yeah, no, we for the most part, many people, businesses, and nations still operate in the margins, right? Because the margins are safe. There's no risk within there.
Mm-hmm.
It's not until something bad happens or they're forced to change dramatically, and I don't think they're ready for it. And all of this, the regulations and the compliance and the credit scores, I feel like it's just like a death grip. It's trying to hold on to the last bastions of what
Yeah.
was.
Well, so my perspective on how what we as a society get is we're the average. We get the average. And the
Yeah.
average, the mathematical average is, the two numbers, let's say, combined and then divided by two. And whichever way you want the average to be is you have to make sure you have to you can fuck with one of the two numbers
Hmm.
to where the result is something you're more happy with. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to it's the Overton window idea. And so unfortunately the Coinbase side of things, that side of the world, they're towards the cuckery side of things, right? Because that's where the people are today. That's where more people are, and they just want to get more users. And so they're pouring,
Yeah.
pouring, pouring people in there. But what they're doing is they're dragging the Overton window towards statism. And that means whatever we end up with as a result of this crypto revolution is becoming less and less amazing. Whereas I'm trying to build the most, or working around building the experience that has the maximum amount of sovereignty, but is still usable by regular people, and trying to I'm just piling on the numbers. I'm stacking the deck on this side of things, so then the center gets dragged more this way. And yeah, anyway, go say
I
something.
mean, it's not a bad idea, and I think the goals are noble.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but there was a report that Coin Bureau put out, and they were reporting off of what CoinGecko was pointing out, and essentially it's like 70 to 80% of users still keep their coins on the exchange
Mm-hmm.
post FTX. That is alarming, and then at the same time, it's also not surprising, because if you notice, again, it's like it's just a small tiny fraction of people who make the world go round, right? It's not everyone, and you know there's more sheep than there are shepherds, and that's just the way the world is going to work. And so even though like you and I and others try to promote the idea of living with sovereignty. And honestly, if you really think about what sovereignty is, it's not that hard to achieve. What is hard to achieve is the mindset of actually doing the thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like taking your coins off the exchange and into your own wallet, whether it's a hot wallet or cold, that's more sovereign than the person who never went into the exchange and got out of fiat altogether, right? It's so the bar to sovereignty in this day and age is so low to begin with,
Mm-hmm.
and people still don't do it. So that is honestly more mind over matter, right?
Yeah.
Um,
I just
and
think, like, I think that we are super close to being able to get tons of people interested in the self custody part of things.
well, this is another thought I've been having, right? So more people like they when they see somebody doing things like in the wild, like in the real, and they have, uh, let me just put it this way. So with my studio, uh, it's much easier for someone to be a fly on the wall and to learn an amazing amount of what we do just by being in close proximity, right?
Yep.
And I think the same thing could be said with crypto. Like if someone sees you using crypto daily, right? Oh, you go to the cafe, you pay with crypto. You go to the grocers, you pay with crypto. And they see you interacting with it all the time. Like that does more to somebody than them just listening to a podcast, reading a blog or a tweet or any of the stuff. So I mean, like while all of this is great that we're sharing these ideas, people don't operate in the abstract. Like it's too hard for them to grasp. It's seeing is believing for the most part. And I think that's where we kind of run a little short is that,
Mm-hmm.
you know, my family members, close friends, don't ever see me interacting with crypto, right? It's like because I've made it to a point where it's like, well, I already bought my ticket. Oh, how'd you do that? Oh, Travala.
Yeah.
I can make a video and show you, but ultimately, like being there and seeing it is a completely different experience, and that's where I feel like maybe as hard as we've been working and pushing and trying, and people still continue to go towards these central systems, it's because they can't grasp it, right?
Yeah. They can't really grasp it. But
Right.
I do agree, exposure is key. And but it cuts both ways, which I'm always reminded of, is
Mm,
anytime they learn from watching and we learn from them struggling. And
right. You learn twice.
yeah, and it's like every time the thing is it should be user feedback. Like if you're a product owner of some kind, if you have responsibility for the product in any way, then you get the feedback. You need to make sure it's fixed. So, for example, with recovery phrases and stuff, HD
Right.
wallets, you have a bunch of different factors. 24 words versus 12 words. It's kind of the same thing, right? It's just like how many words do you have to extrapolate these keys. I learned like a few months ago, I think, because of some weird happenstance, that the iOS version and the Android version of the Dash wallet produced by Dash Core Group, one of the entities under the Dash DAO, one of them had a 24-word setup and one of them had a 12-word setup, and they could not work with each other. And
Mm,
I'm just like, and the only reason I figure that out is I'm just like, oh, well, why don't you just restore this into this? And I'm just like, and like, it doesn't work. I'm like, why not? I should. I'm like, and no one made this explicit decision, but just it happened. And it turns out it's a super easy fix to just make them both compatible with each other. And as far as I know, it's now since been fixed. So now they won't run into that problem. It'll just work. But it's like you have to run into that and be like, oh
yeah.
no. And then you got to get, hey guys, this sucks. Or like the wallet needs to sync, and just like find a way for it to sync quickly or spend before sync or whatever. So whatever, oh, look at this. Nope. Hide it from the user so they can use it. And
Right.
self
Well, so I
yeah.
mean, yeah. So even on that, and for better or for worse, I do like Noster. I think there's a lot of potential, but here's the thing: like, it's so easy to use. It's very simple, and I've explained it to like other creators who don't want to be on like Instagram or whatever, right? They want something different, and I've told them many times how to do it. Oh, go to this site, register your public and private keys, and then go to a Nostr platform, paste. Right? It's very, very simple. It's not hard at all. But yet, there's still so many of them who are just like, yeah, I haven't tried it out yet. Yeah, I'm not sure. I just don't, and most of it is because they don't see it, they can't comprehend it, they don't understand. And a lot of people are also risk averse. So even though there's like fixes on the Dash wallet, even though there's spending on bit refill and all of this stuff that's out there, like people are risk averse and they can't understand abstract concepts very well. And so we always come back to that human. That's the wall is the human aspect of
Yeah.
all of this. I don't know how to break that, other than being there in the same room as a person. Be like, oh, hey, I'm gonna buy movie tickets from AMC,
Hmm.
and look, they have a BitPay portal, and I can scan and pay or copy paste. Like, unless like all of them are in the room watching, you know, like apes at the obelisk and touching. It's just
You're not gonna get
not
it.
gonna happen. No, I just don't know.
But like you
That's the
gotta have like
part.
a reason to, and that's the
Yeah,
beautiful thing about DeFi is it allows people to earn. And if people earn, now they have a reason to get in there. And now they have all these crypto tokens they don't want to do. And now you're like, oh, let me show you how to spend them. Or sometimes you have people who care about sovereignty. They're scared about the dollar collapsing. Those people are easy to get the why. To build recurring habits, it's a
yeah,
lot harder, but at least you get the why. Then there's the social media stuff. I can sign up people to use this in Leo platform, and they can earn crypto from day one. And sometimes people who want to earn, who can't get monetized on X for whatever reason, it's like, oh yeah, I'll do that, and then they'll start posting to earn. Or sometimes people just hate Elon or just don't trust him or think they're going to get censored. Oh, I don't like that. So they move to a blockchain platform. Like, you can get them in there. But the
right.
average person who's just having fun on X, you're not going to get them over. Not really. Not until it becomes a happening place because of other things. And so,
Or their
like,
ass is on fire, one or the other.
yeah. And so I reach a lot more people and make a lot more money on X than I do on Inleo. Just because I'm there. I got there, I got monetized. The algo likes me when I dump on maxis, whatever it is. And it just it works out. I'm very comfortable there. And the only reason I'm on this other thing is other than I think it's cool. I'm like a nerd for these things and I'm trying to promote it. But
Yeah,
like other than that, like and the third thing is I'm like a values person where I this is my equivalent of donating a dollar to cancer research at the grocery store kind of thing, where I want to do I believe in the value, so I'll do it kind of thing. Like, oh, encrypted
right.
comms. Like I can't remember the last time I've had, well, very rarely do I have sensitive conversations over encrypted comms. Almost all of it could be in plain text and someone finds it and like someone at AT&T or wherever is like, oh, I read all your messages and I just don't give a crap. But I do it out of principle. It's like, no, good for privacy. Remove
Yeah,
that from the stuff. There's some people like us, but mostly people just need a reason, you know. And you got a little freezy there for a second, so I'll filibuster for like 2 seconds until you're back, because I know you can't stay away for very long. Just the way this thing works. But yeah, getting people back on board, getting them to care is a challenge. But I do,
all right.
yeah. I just
So I
filibustered for you.
yeah. Well, let me just say I found the reason why. I'll tell you afterwards. But yeah, no, we're mining at the house. So
Oh, nice.
yeah,
Yeah, just some disruptions there. What happened to it balancing the electrical grid, man? It seems like it's imbalancing it. Scam.
Uh, it's more of the internet itself. So
Can we blame Swan?
let's blame Swan.
You have a
It's
thing.
all Swan's fault. Yeah, I mean it's kind of the like I was saying, like I've been leaving my mobile at home now, right? It's not as if the government's coming after me or there's state agents that want me, but I think it was something that Richard Stallman had said. It's like it's the principle of the matter. It's the value of like I don't want to be spied on, right? And you shouldn't want to be spied on. Like respect my privacy. If you're not going to respect my privacy, bye, Felicia.
Yeah, you know what would be nice? Maybe meet you halfway on that. Because sometimes when you have, especially if you have crypto's all on your phone. Um, Sometimes you have an emergency, you might want to just get one of them little Faraday bags that I got and drop it in there and just have it close to your person or in the car or whatever. It's just completely dark. You're not using it, but it's there in case you need to emergency break open glass, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I have my graphene phone, but it's like I've turned it into the dumbest phone I could possibly make it. It's like outside of like because it's Signal,
Hmm.
that's what everybody can reach me on for the most part. Because I don't have the phone anymore. Like, there's no more phone number. I
Hmm.
got rid of that,
It's great.
and it's about as good as it's going to get. But still, like this thing has its place. It stays put in its thing, and I'm away from it.
Yeah. And it's kind of it is very interesting to see where this is going to end up in the world because at some point I think we are going to turn into we're cyborging bit by bit where and I kind of came to peace with the with that trajectory because there as far as I understand it there's not a single human being on the entire planet whether real today or even hypothetical who can survive without technology whether the technology is sharpening a rock and that's it or getting a pointy stick that you throw at stuff people the modern the homo sapiens homo erectus whatever cannot live without tools it just
I agree.
will just die without tools and we've evolved to like the species we've grown our tool set so rapidly uh, but still like there's still like a very we've merged with some kind of technology and there are like other animals that do this. I'd have to think about exactly which ones and how, but like, oh, this one swallows rocks, so the gizzard does this, or like, oh,
Yeah.
this one keeps like a freaking clamshell, a thing to break open the clamshells on, or this animal keeps this, this orangutan fishes with a spear, and like, these there's a certain element of that, and as long as I'm okay with us becoming more cyborg as long as we do it in a sovereign kind of way that we adjust to,
I'm taking just a pure market approach to this.
Mm-hmm.
It's like respect, my privacy, respect my data. Let's put it that way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Respect my data, or I go elsewhere, right? You want me to lug, Stalin's wet dream everywhere?
Mm-hmm.
Then no. But if you're gonna allow me to like have my privacy, then I'm all for keeping this in the pocket. If
Mm-hmm.
not, piss off. And right now, my weapons of choice has simply been this pen and paper. And sure, it's a lot more quiet, but I mean, it's very private. You
Yeah,
know,
if you don't need it, that's fine. That's the other
yeah,
thing is like with these I drive an old school like basically just stick shift car that just has like a basic like onboard stereo system and that's it. Like oh it can do Bluetooth. That's basically barely that's it. It's just like the electronics of I'm sure there's some tracking nonsense in there somewhere. There's some but for
yeah.
the most part it's like complete like it's as basic as you can get. And whenever any of these modern cars, which I hate the ones that like wiggle your tires when you like try to cross the line or whatever, like no, fuck off, I'm driving here, right?
Yeah.
I understand that the Tesla is sort of the pinnacle automobile right now. It depends on your perspective, but it's like the most advanced one. I'm waiting till I can run graphene on that bitch. Like, I'm waiting till I can root it and then run some other stuff that, like, because the way it works, it's an absolute privacy nightmare. It can be commandeered remotely, and it just like the amount of stuff. And I don't even think that's malicious. I just think that they're trying to make it do all the cool stuff. And as
It's
soon
just
as
annoying. That's what it really comes down to.
yeah,
Like, okay, look, let's the way I'm looking at it, because I mean, we could do, all doom and gloom and all panic and fear because that's what sells in this market. But for the most part, it's like, dude, it's just fucking annoying, right? Like, we have one of those newer cars, and it's like, oh, make sure you're in the margin, turn it off. Like, don't fucking tell me. It's we're saving the gas. Like, nope, turn that off. Don't fucking tell me how I can spend my gas. Just don't tell me. Like I'm not I'm not a toddler, right? It's like I'm paying for the damn thing, so
yeah,
like let me get what I'm paying for. I didn't pay for automation. I didn't pay for fucking edging on the highway. It's like I just want the car to go from A to B. Leave me the fuck alone. And if that's the case, then I'm gonna walk. And if that, I'll take the damn bus.
yeah,
Just it's just so God. Like that's my thing. Like it's so fucking annoying at this point. And it's retarded. Like it's not even like the whole Tesla thing. I'll admit it. When Cybertruck was first announced, I'm like, oh, dude, that looks kind of looks a little interesting. But then the more you look at it, it's like we pushed to see if we could, but we never stopped to ask if we should.
yeah. But part of it, like, this is one of those like don't bet against Elon kind of things. The Cybertruck, I've not been in one, but I've been in some Teslas or whatever. The thing is such like I hate it. It's like it's such trash. But the point of it is, well, here's the thing. I'm sure it's got a lot of cool things like how fast it can accelerate and that it's like bulletproof basically, and like there's a bunch of interesting things. But it's a product for like it's a product. It's the ultimate LARP mobile because it's a product for nobody. Like no one who drives it needs a truck, and
No.
anyone who has a truck and gets this thing, they get like stuck on a slope. Like it just doesn't work for. It's a product for no one, right? It doesn't work for anyone, but it's perfect because literally the entire purpose of this thing is this is like the futuristic mega machine, and people want it because it does more useless things that they didn't even want. They want
Look,
that.
if it doesn't turn into a Gundam, I don't give a shit.
Yeah. Doesn't
That's
have
it.
a weird little scythe or whatever. I want the scythe from Gundam Wing. I don't remember that.
Yeah.
It's like,
If I can't get together with some friends and turn our cyber trucks into fucking Voltron, like it's useless.
yeah. But that's exactly the thing. I do think the other Tesla models are a little bit more practical in terms of, oh, it just like, it is kind of cool if you like that stuff, but it's just like it works as a daily driver. I feel like the Cybertruck is just like, people like techno whacking it kind of thing. Like people, the entire purpose of it, like it looks ugly. Like no one likes the way it looks. No one actually likes the way it looks. It just looks futuristic, and they like that.
I dig it. I think it looks interesting. I'm like, man, that's. But there's so many that drive around the neighborhood, and they get dirty so fast.
Yeah.
It's like it is kind of gross after a while. It's like, okay, it's interesting, but again, if it's not turning into a fucking X-wing, why do I care?
My interest in a Cybertruck, if I had one, would be much more. First off, the bulletproof thing sells, and the not gas guzzler sells if I can get cheap electricity. Right.
Right.
I'd want it to be like a bug out thing, but I'd want it to have like a petrol backup, like a gasoline backup in the tank or something, just in case I couldn't find a charger, because that does suck. And I'd want it to be more powerful, like be able to actually get up hills and not all these problems getting stuck. And I'd want some auto turrets for sure built in there. And but I'm practical. Like the whole sleek look of it and stuff. It's not that it looks cool. It's that it looks futuristic, and that looks cool. It's like it looks cool by proxy, not directly. And people
Yeah.
want it because they're just like, this is the awesome future car, not because they like anything that it does. They just like that it's future. Just like full circle back to the merchants. Like no merchant, like the number two reason, like no merchant wants to accept crypto to save on transaction fees. Not a single one.
Right.
The second most popular reason they want to take crypto is, well, I want to get another customer base I'm not already getting. I don't really care if they use the crypto when they come here. I just want those people. The number
Right.
one reason why people will take crypto, businesses, is because it's the future, man. It's coming. I want to be on there in time. I just want to get it up to the future. And that's kind of it. That's literally the Cybertruck. It's just that
Yeah.
it's not practical in the slightest, but it's the future, and so people buy into the future, so they want it.
Yeah. Well, what is it? No one can predict the future, but you can make it. So I mean, Elon's making the future he wants to see, and I think other people. I mean, I'm trying to make a future for myself. The problem is other people.
Yeah. The Cybertruck is the man cave of vehicles.
It is. I mean, you could practically live in it if you really wanted to. Like, it has that much room, you know.
Yeah. A lot of cool
But
stuff.
yeah, but again, if it's not turning into something that, okay, bulletproof this, fine, you know. It's just, what's the price tag? Like 100K cuck bucks.
It's something brutal.
Yeah, so one Bitcoin right now, I wouldn't. I mean, you're gonna part one Bitcoin for a Cybertruck. Let's weigh those apples a little bit more.
Yeah. I it's not something I would care about. I'd rather be a nomad. I'd rather get like something that flies, something that can do
Yeah,
bombing runs. Like, I just like it's got to be cool and practical. And it is funny, and how in people are predicting in the 50s that everyone would have their own personal helipad and helicopter, and it
yeah.
just never happened for so many reasons, I guess.
Oh, what is it? I have a stupid book.
Is it
Fucking
talk?
guy.
Is it talk about
No,
that?
no, it's this Buckminster Fuller's The Grunch of Giants. It has like all. Yeah, it's got him here. I forgot which page. I got to find it again. I have it highlighted, but yeah, it was talking about like, and one day we're all going to have these, flying cars in our backyards and helipads and blah blah blah.
Yeah, and it just turns out that that was just not like the logistics of it. It's kind of like a helicopter in your backyard is like the next level ridiculousness of a Cybertruck. It's just not something you need. At least a Cybertruck works. It's a car, practical car with a ton of LARP built on top that you're paying 5, 10, or double for, or whatever. The helicopter or the flying car, oh, the new flying car, we can do the. Okay, why? Like, to fly over traffic once in a while? To run into some other dumb motherfucker in the sky? Like, to spend more on fuel, to have to get a runway to get a little extra so you don't blow half your tank just getting into the air. Like, it never worked. It just sounds cool.
Yeah,
And then I think that, like, you'd have to make
there was more imagination in like the 50s through 70s than there is now.
yeah. But, like, also, I think if you had a bigger property and you're further out and there wasn't urban sprawl around you, I think that it would be like, okay, I want to get to downtown. I'm just going to fly over everything instead of a 30-minute commute into town. It's like a 6-minute to get to the helipad thing, and just then you get sorted to the garage and you go on your feet or whatever. Okay, I get that. Sometimes I'd like there to be like an airport run that's like, although, I'm really getting distracted now, but doesn't Uber have a helicopter option? I think they do.
I don't know.
I saw some TikTok of some dude in New York City who, like downtown Manhattan, who forgot when this flight was, and was gonna miss his flight because it's like an hour before the flight. He's like, "Oh shit, I haven't left my house yet," and it's just like, "Well, you're screwed." And so you hailed like an Uber helicopter, and it got him to the airport, and he made his
they
flight.
have it.
Yeah,
They have it. They fucking have it. Holy shit. Okay, I just sent that to you.
yeah. That's what I thought. They gotta. Okay, this is how you know the show's really going off the rails. But I will throw it up on the screen, just for the people who want to see it. Introducing Ubercopter, blah blah blah. You know, when and where it's available. It's in Manhattan it's Monday through Friday, 2 to 6 p.m. Eastern, for trips between Manhattan and JFK International Airport. So it's just a very specific thing, and so it just seems like it works in this specific case where people want to get to the airport super quickly, and they screwed up their planning, so they're not there, and it's going to take an hour through traffic or 2 hours through traffic to get there, and you're just rich and you need to get to the airport, and it works. If you
pay in Tether, they'll get you there in an hour and a half.
Yes,
or an hour.
It takes you straight to a Salvadoran prison. There we go. No due process.
No.
The Bukehelicopters. Oh, yeah, it's crazy. All right, that seems like a good way to start wrapping this thing up. What are we going to show here?
Yeah, that's good. I think it's good.
What's your site again?
It's just RarePassenger.xyz. That's where I'm moving things to now. It's it'll be a hub for links and all that stuff and guides and blah 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 blah.
Chemics, I see that.
Dude, that thing is a work of art. I love it.
Yeah, I'd like to do.
My morning's done.
I'm like an espresso person, of course, but I mean, anything that's coffee is going to work. Yes. But yeah, the Nostr guide should be interesting for people who actually care. I kind of de-Nostred by now, but maybe if I get any engagement, maybe I'll go back. I don't know.
You know, here's the thing that I found with Nostr that's really good is private relays, right? So you can set up one for yourself and your friends only. And so you can kind of kick everyone else to the curb and have your own little microcosm if that's what you want. I think it was pretty interesting. You know, we like it. It's nice. We've cut out a lot of the maxi stuff, which makes Nostr actually a little more enjoyable. So, and that's what I like. I like being able to customize that and be like, nope, we're good. I don't need that. Chop it off. I can't do that on X right now, which is really fucking annoying. Try to mute as many words as I can, and at this point, I might as well just mute the entire dictionary. Yeah. It's so fucking dumb.
It's all in there. It's all trash. Filters are going to be super important to our future, where I do believe that like filtering out everything else and just focusing on one thing. Selective filters, of course. And I kind of do feel sad for people that filter like large scale things off. Like, so social media is one thing where I'm on it all the time, but every once in a while I put down like, for example, I'm going to do jiu-jitsu in a little while for like a good couple hours. And it's like, like a round trip, an hour or so drive round trip, and then 2 hours there. And so that's like a good 3 hours that I'm not checking X. I'm just like, and I'm just like trying not to die as some fucking guy is like crank on my neck. And I'm like, oh crap. And it's like, then
you're getting choked and be like, hey, wait a minute, his post.
Oh, it's funny because, speaking last little anecdote on that, and we wrap it up. Oh, there was a world famous jiu-jitsu competitor and later MMA fighter, Gary Tonin, famously in one fight. So he's literally in a pro fight, and as he's like trying to choke this guy out, people notice that tucked into his shorts waistband is a phone. And he literally chokes this dude out, wins the fight, and then he gets on his phone, and then he goes, yeah, and whatever. And so people asked him later, they're like, why, you animal, you went into a fight with your phone. And he just like, so you won, and then you just get like, what was that about? And he just said, oh man, I was dating this girl, and things weren't going well. She didn't like it when I fought, and like didn't like the attention, and like, because you don't hear from him for a while, and so literally he just had the phone, so as soon as the fight was over he could go call her. And is this toxic relationship, and it ended up not working out. But it's kind of funny how it's just like that one little escape is trying to get him, and now I haven't seen him have a phone in his pocket when he fights in a long time, so I guess his life must be working out.
Dude, it is amazing. Wow. Like the moment,
it wasn't the phone. It was something else. But
But it's like when you start putting tools in their place, and then putting like other areas of your life in where they're supposed to go, just things start to. You can see things from a different perspective, and that's good for him. Things worked out, sort of. But
yeah.
Anyways, I think it's a good place to wrap.
Absolutely. Go to RarePassenger.xyz. Also, the bargain domain. Good for you. Was there a .com, by the way, or .org or anything?
Yeah, but I didn't want it.
Just went to XYZ. Yeah.
I mean, I'm frugal, and I was using Hostinger, which accepts crypto. So, I mean, it was really stupid easy to do. I mean, that's the way I'm going. If it doesn't accept crypto natively or through another portal, then I'm not fucking touching it at this point. I'm tired.
Yeah, for sure. All right, cool. Well, let's wrap this thing up. Everyone, thanks for watching our long, rambling, meandering nonsense. And because I don't want to leave people on a cliffhanger, I did look over, and Coin ATM Radar was just asking if we're still good with the same terms for the sponsorship, and I'm like, yes. So we're still good, boys. We're still good.
You're not demonetized yet.
No, someone's still throwing me corn. Lots of coins. All right. Happy weekend, everybody. Don't forget, taxation is theft, and your phone is also spying on you. Not this one. Fiat is a total scam, so start living on crypto before it's too late. And leave your phone at home and bring a notepad sometime. You might learn something about yourself. Bye, everyone.